All right, I've got a nice classic pistol to review today. So what we're going to be going over, I'll just get right to it, is this here, Colt 1911 competition model, stainless, of course, in 45 ACP, as you can see here. And yeah, I've been eyeing this pistol for quite a little while now. Ever since Colt kind of came back into being a real gun manufacturer again, because for a while there they were not, which is pretty in keeping with Colt's history. Frankly, if you know anything about them, they have been definitely like this, like a wave up and down throughout their history. So really no different to what they experienced a couple years ago. But now, of course, with their revitalization by CZ and Colt being acquired by CZ, they definitely have come back in a, I would say, a substantial way. I wouldn't say a significant way, but a substantial way for sure. And part of that revitalization has been, of course, 1911 pistols, because that's what Colt is, partially known for anyways. They're known for a lot of other things, but 1911s is definitely one of them. And so once I saw their models here that had these really, really cool and nice Colt branded G10 grips here, as you can see, I was just like, man, that's awesome. Because, of course, my favorite color is blue. So when you combine two or three things that I really, really like, which is 1911s, Colt 1911s, and the color blue, this is right up my alley. Another reason why I wanted to get one is I've kind of wanted a more modern featured 1911 as well. Something that has all the usual things that you'd expect 1911s to have. Because given my experience lately with other 1911s that are more basic models or perhaps don't have the nice features, I just kind of wanted to try them and see if there was, a lot of much to do, I guess, about the modernized features. So in particular with this one, you'll see skeletonized trigger here, which is of course adjustable for over travel, which is pretty cool. I've never owned a 1911 that had a trigger like that. The dovetails for the sights as well are, I guess, one of the industry standards. There are multiple standards for 1911s for the rear sight dovetail, and also of course the front sight is dovetailable as well, because not all 1911s are, I can tell you that right now. So Novak style in the rear, and whatever Colt's dovetail style is up here in the front. So if I really wanted to replace this front sight, I could, but of course my preference for competition style pistols is of course a red fiber optic front sight and a blacked out rear, which this just so happens to be. So this is also my favorite sight picture. On top of that, so I won't have to change these sights out, which is awesome. From the factory, the less modification that I have to do, the better. And then of course you have your ring style hammer here, which I don't think I've used in any of my 1911s actually, and the extended grip safety and beaver tail, which I think is not ultimately necessary on a 1911. I've shot multiple 1911s with the smaller beaver tails just fine. Never got hammer bite, never had issues. Another interesting thing with this though is the significant undercut, as we can see right here in the frame. That is not standard with most 1911s. You really don't see that. So I'm glad that Colt actually did that with these series of pistols, and you can see the really big cut right there. That is not standard. I don't think it compromises frame strength or anything like that, so that's pretty cool. And then not really any beveling here in the mag well at all, which never really bothered me either. However, one thing I would like though is I really, really wish that there was a arched mainspring housing here, not a flat one. I know flat mainspring housings are all in vogue now, and that's what everybody wants. And of course, they want as much checkering as physically possible, both in the front and the back strap. Right? This, of course, has no checkering on the front strap, which is totally fine with me. And it only has vertical striations here on the mainspring housing, which is also totally fine with me. I have no issues with it. And that's about the features. Internally, actually I would say too, internally the recoil guide rod in here, or the plug I guess, is actually smaller than standard size. So the ones that are in your standard 1911s are actually going to be a little bit larger diameter as far as like the actual, I wish I had it out so I could show you, but the thickness of the recoil guide rod itself is actually thicker on standard models, and this one is thinner. And the reason why that is because Colt decided to go with a dual recoil spring system inside of here. So it's a smaller diameter recoil spring sitting on the rod, and then a larger diameter spring on top of that. So they said, they advertise that it's got reduced recoil and all that stuff, and benefits and lifespan and all that, whatever. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but yeah, it's just an interesting take that they've done, and a little departure from standard 1911s. So other than that as well, of course, no ambidextrous safety, which doesn't bother me at all. In fact, the safety on this gun is actually really quite good. It is a little bit more extended than normal, as you can see right there. It extends a little bit past. It's kind of easier to see from this angle, but yeah, you can see right there. It extends a little bit, and it's very clicky, very positive in all the right ways that matter. So for me, this is a very naturally pointing and shooting gun. So I mean, like most 1911s. So yeah, that's a basic cover features of what comes with this. So another reason why I got this as well is to replace another, well, not replace, but like I guess be my main shooting 1911 over my old traditional one that we have here. This is also a Colt 1911 Mark IV Series 80, way old, kind of vintage kind of gun. And the reason why I say I want to replace it is because this used to be my dad's carry gun way back in the day. This particular pistol is older than I am. And he when I moved out, he kind of said, okay, well, it's your turn now. Take care of it and use it if you need to. So I have shot the ever-living snot out of this gun. Like, I grew up shooting this gun. This is my first 1911. I've been very spoiled by it, I'll be honest, because this is a very nice gun. My dad had a master armorer from, I believe, the Army from way back when in the day. Do all kinds of custom work to this gun, and this particular model here, I've actually had someone walk up to me and offer $2,000 cash in hand for this gun and said, I'll buy it off you right now at the range. And of course I refused, but to say that this gun has traveled and been there and done that, not just for me but also my dad, I think it's time to give it a little bit of a rest and kind of enjoy it for what it is. It's an heirloom piece at this point. It's been shot a lot, and I think deserves a little bit more time in the safe to kind of rest a little bit, right? But I do love my stainless 1911s, and like I said, I wanted one with more modern features and the nice blue grips and everything. It's something I wouldn't feel bad about modifying in any particular way, so that's where this one comes in. So yeah, so I'm really glad that Colt was offering these, and I got this for average price, I guess. These are surprisingly difficult to find at times, because I've seen surges of these things. Like I guess they make them in batches, because there are sometimes when I'm looking for this particular gun, I couldn't find them anywhere. I could find the blued ones, I could find the standard government models, but I could not, or I could find the Gold Cup Lights, Gold Cup Elites, whatever, all those fancy custom models and things. I could find all of those except this exact one, or this one. I could find this one at 9mm all over the place, but I didn't want it at 9mm. 1911s are supposed to be in 45, right? So I wanted a 45. So yeah, if I was going to make one big change to this gun, it would definitely be a arched stainless mainspring housing, which is also surprisingly hard to find, because I don't know why when I look at like 1911 aftermarket parts, there's tons of them all over the place, but they are either like hyper ultra modern or like Colt vintage original parts from like GI guns way back in the day. There's like no in between. So I really did want just a standard vertical striation marked, arched mainspring housing. I cannot find one. They're all like hyper super duper ultra custom competition style race guns with the big old mag wells attached to them, or they have the very aggressive checkering on the back here. And the other problem with stainless guns as well is that the color of the stainless is not going to match necessarily. So if I get a hyper super duper like Ed Brown race gun mainspring housing here that's in stainless, it's just not going to look, it's not going to match. It's not going to look like it was meant to be part of the gun. Like, you could definitely look at it and say, yeah, that's an aftermarket part, which I don't really want so much. So I really wish there was just a plain kind of matte kind of stainless look like that available, but there is not, as far as I can tell. Of course, too, mechanically speaking, the difference between these, the Mark IV Series 80 and, of course, this one being a Series 70 is that this is a Series 70s and that is a Series 80. Firing pin safety, of course, different internals, that kind of thing, but not so much to make it a huge, huge difference to me. Would I feel comfortable carrying this, you know, cocked and locked, safety on, in a holster, you know, outer waistband, inner waistband, however, yes, I would feel 100% comfortable carrying this in any configuration that you were supposed to carry a 1911 in. I have no issues with that, and I got complete faith in this gun. So, I went over features, why I got it, and so for accuracy and shooting experience, so I have a few targets here. Maybe I can demonstrate. They're not like the best targets because I didn't exactly get like the cleanest shots on them, but might be able to illustrate here what I'm talking about. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. All right. So all of these were shot at 25 yards. So this is 5 shots at 25 yards. So minus this flyer here, that was of course just me, and yes, that is very annoying when that happens, but you know, hey, 4 shots here at 25 yards. This is basically my first couple shots that I ever had with that with this particular pistol, just using regular old FMJ ammo, nothing special. Not bad, you know. Some of the best groups I was getting was you know, right around 2 inches, 2.5 inches, which seems to be about the limit of my ability with a gun that I haven't really trained a whole lot with. And you might say to yourself, well, these are both 1911s, and you've shot this one a whole lot, and you haven't shot this one a whole lot, but the skills should transfer, right? Yes and no. So the trigger pulls, I will definitely say, are immensely different on these two because of all the custom work done with this. And of course, too, if you notice, the trigger here is a short trigger, right? That definitely has a whole lot different shooting experience than this one with a large full-face trigger like this that's very far forward. And of course, the trigger pull weight on this one is much, much heavier than it is on the Mark IV there. So as well, when I just out of curiosity, I didn't save the target unfortunately, but I took this the competition model here out to 50 yards, and I was getting around 5-inch groups at 50 yards standing, you know, with this pistol. So the accuracy is absolutely there. You know, usually I kind of, to me, it's a bit of a gimmick when companies say like, oh, it's a match barrel, and you can't really see it here in the reflection, but it does in fact say Colt 45 Auto NM, which is national match. So it means like they're national match barrels, right? Supposedly they're supposed to be more accurate, higher consistency, tighter tolerances, all that stuff. I normally don't pay attention to that because it's a lot of marketing speak, but I think in this case, it's just a good barrel. I don't know if it's match, but it is a good barrel because, frankly, I've gotten the same level of accuracy out of this old gun here, and this one absolutely is not a national match barrel. So, you know, your results may vary. So accuracy is good, very good. It's where it needs to be. Shootability, I mean, it shoots like a 1911. I can't really, I'm not going to argue one way or another if that dual recoil spring really does affect the recoil or not, or if it feels like any particular way or super different to me. Honestly, I really can't tell the difference. It shoots like a 1911. These two, in terms of recoil impulse and everything else, feel pretty much exactly the same. So, no real difference there. Ergonomics, though, handling. I'm honestly, I'm not sure if I prefer these Pachmayr signature rubber grips or the G10s. I'm really not sure. In terms of like, I guess, smoothness and how they feel and everything, I kind of prefer the Pachmayr rubbers a little bit more versus like the G10s. The G10s are very aggressive, you know, kind of rough texture, and but they just look so cool. I mean, that blue with the stainless just looks amazing. I think even better than the black rubber. So I guess it's a bit of a toss up there between the two in terms of ergonomics and feel. To me, they both feel excellent. I will say I definitely do notice that undercut that I mentioned earlier here in the trigger guard. It definitely feels a little, just a tiny bit more comfortable for me, but I could do with or without, frankly. Reliability. So reliability is a huge thing with 1911s, and I think a lot of it comes down to magazine choice, really more than almost anything else with the gun. And I've definitely found that to be the case with this gun as well. So the magazine that comes with only comes with one magazine, which is not the greatest. I wish it came with more. However, this is the factory magazine that it came with, and it does actually have different internals, and it is marked slightly differently. So it does say Colt 45 auto 8 round right there if I turn it the right way. Yep, it's got the little pony and everything. So genuine Colt factory magazine, holds 8, and I can in fact do 8+1 with this gun, with this magazine. Works just fine. Now, the original magazine that came with this gun is this magazine here. Now, it may look pretty much exactly the same. In a lot of ways, they kind of are the same. However, this is only a 7-round magazine, and I have absolutely tried to put these next to each other to see if there's any kind of differences that I can notice on the outside. And there isn't really that I can tell, except for the magazine followers and the springs on the inside are totally different from each other. That's why the new magazine is able to hold 8 and the old ones can only hold 7. So I did, however, try this old magazine in the new gun, and it worked just fine, flawless, no problem at all. I've literally never had any problem with Colt factory magazines. So whatever they're doing it well, and they improved upon it with this 8+1 now instead of 7+1. So that's always nice to see, because one extra round in 45 makes a big difference. So out of all the other different brands of magazines that I have, I've tested Wilson Combats, I've tested Chip McCormick's, I've tested ACT mags. ACTs are, I've tested Metgar magazines. Those are okay. What else do I have? Chip McCormick's, yeah, different kinds of those. Yeah, Wilson Combats. Oh, there's Packmeyer, old Packmeyer magazine in there too, back when they made magazines for 1911s. However, I will say one standout from the rest of them is, unfortunately, Kimber magazines. I absolutely hate Kimber magazines. This here is a Kimber 8-round magazine here that has their silly little whatever, you can see right there, it says, that reflection. It says Kimber. And it's like their patented little whatever custom thing, base plate thing that they do with their magazines. This thing has been absolutely terrible for all my 1911s. If I load it with 7 rounds, it jams. If I load it with 8 rounds, it's sometimes okay. If I try to do it 8+1, most guns it will not fit. It simply will not lock into there. If I do a load one in the chamber and I have 7 rounds in here, so it'll actually fit into the gun and lock, it'll be a guaranteed jam pretty much every time. If I can get a gun that it does fit with an 8+1, guaranteed jam every single time. So I do not like Kimber magazines. I've had no luck with them in any of the 1911s I've fired it in. It only works sometimes. If I download this to like 5 rounds, it works okay. But I can't rely on it to be locking open on empty when it's empty. I can't count on it on feeding FMJs versus hollow points versus flat nose bullets. I can't count on it for that. Just hunk of junk, frankly. But I've had best results, of course, with Colts, Wilson Combats, and Chip McCormick's. Those 3 have been absolutely fantastic for me. I've had no issues at all doing +1s, FMJs, hollow points, all that. So with this gun, I've had no malfunctions with it that were not magazine related. So no failures to feed, no failures to lock open, with good magazines, of course. No jams, no double feeds, no stovepipes, nothing like that. This gun has been flawless. And that's both with FMJs, FMJ flat point, flat nose bullets, and hollow points of different makes, models, manufacturers as well, because of course 45 hollow points have different bullet shapes, I guess, and different overall lengths. So of course when they're sitting in the magazine, they might sit a little higher up, they might sit a little far forward, further back, whatever. This gun's fed it all, so no problems there. So reliability, awesome. That's why I said, like earlier, I would feel totally confident carrying this pistol if I had to for self-defense purposes. So yeah, accuracy is there, reliability is there, ergonomics are there, looks are there. I mean, it's a classic Colt. I don't think you can really go wrong with these. You know, I know it says competition series on there. I don't really know if people actually compete with these, because I think, you know, if you're going to get into a competition, depending on, of course, the competition category and things like that, division you're in, I'd imagine most people would probably just go with like the Gold Cup version of this rather than this particular model. But you know what? For my purposes, it works just fine. So for everything that I wanted it for, all the modern features, the modern trimmings, all that stuff, are reasonable price, original Colt, stainless, has a nice blue grips, looks awesome, functions well, shoots well, and of course to serve as a basically a replacement for this older Colt. It's done everything I wanted it to, just fine, no problems at all. So I am happy to see Colt kind of come back and actually make guns that are you know, worth the money and worth the Colt name. You know, because for a while there, when they were struggling to come out with stuff like the very early Pythons and the early newer 1911s as well, honestly, I was not impressed. Bringing back some of the earlier models of the new snake guns, I wasn't impressed at all. Like just holding them in the shop, I'm like, this kind of feels dinky. Finish wasn't great. The fit wasn't great. You could see machining marks, all kinds of things like that. Just bad QC and things that needed just a little bit more time to cook in the oven, so to speak. So I think Colt is improving. I think with the acquisition by CZ is definitely helping them out quite a bit. And I'm happy to see that, definitely, because Colt's one of those, like, you know, home, like, American, like, what do you call it? What's the phrase? Household names. Colt's one of those household names for firearms. You know, like it's Colt. You know, everyone can make their own 1911 as much as they want. They can spruce it up however they want, but really, you know, nothing really quite hits the spot the same way as a genuine Colt. It's got the nice little pony and everything on it, right? So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But yeah, this old horse here, for, you know, no pun intended, has seen a lot of action, and it's served me very, very well. But I think it's time to regulate it to the safe for the time being, at least until I have you know, my own son later, years down the road, and be like, hey, you wanna shoot some guns, kid? You know, let's try your granddad's old 1911 and see what you can do with it, right? Of course, my girlfriend, soon to be wife, of course, she was kind of making the joke that, like, oh yeah, you know, when we have a son and he gets old enough and I get older and I pass this gun down to him, he's got to get his own stainless Colt 1911 as well. I've got to continue the tradition, right? So, you know, maybe I'll start some kind of family tradition like that. I didn't really need to get this gun, of course, you know, but for as long as the other one has served and done its purpose well, you know, I think this is perfectly fine for what I want to do. So anyway, yeah, I'll give you just one last look here at it, because it's such a pretty gun. I love stainless 1911s. I love 1911s in general, but a really good stainless one like this, and just like how it looks and everything, man, can't beat a classic look like that. So yeah, it's just a handsome piece. And I figured I'd share that with you guys, and, you know, give you my experiences with a modern Colt, and just kind of, you know, share my love for 1911s in general. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. And yeah, we'll see you next time.